All right, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Peaking Podcast with Avi Latner. Avi is the co-founder of Sloyd. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Brian. Yeah,
Are-
lovely to be here. Looking forward for a great conversation.
Wonderful. Well, hey, tell us a little bit about yourself. Would love to jump in just by hearing about who you are, where you come from.
So I live in Texas, in Austin. I recently moved over from Israel. I'm Israeli by origin, and I am an entrepreneur and one of the co-founders of Sloyd, as you said. And I've been at it for more than 3 years. And my background is mostly product. And so that's also what I do in Sloyd. But as a small startup, I wear many hats, or as they say. So the startup started incorporated in Norway first. And they
Okay.
are saying potato for somebody who does a lot of things because they like eating potatoes. So we could also say
You're a
instead of wearing
potato.
many hats, then I'm just a potato, right? So I mean, we used to be just two people who did everything that's not development or 3D art, and like business operation, marketing, product testing, and so I accounting, and so now we're a bit more, but I also do a lot of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I've been at Sloyd for 3 years. Sloyd is a startup for, as you said, creating 3D using AI, and most of our users are game developers or people who want to print in 3D, or all kinds of people who have digital projects that involve 3D creation.
Yeah. Cool. Let's jump in a little bit about kind of your early career, where you started. So you're from Israel. What when you jumped into career, what were you doing from a product? What was your first product role? What types of things were you working on?
I kind of rolled into professional life. I don't think I was very well aimed at going into startups and tech and understand how innovation worked. As I was growing up, as I went to university, as I went to the army, it took time for me to understand those things. I started by studying I studied industrial engineering and information systems, and I started working in fintech in large banks. I did that for a while. After I think a few years, I moved to the States with my wife. My wife wanted to do an MBA. And that was around the financial crisis, if you remember, I think, right? Like 2009. Yeah, then I realized that I also want to go and study, and I went and did a master's in engineering and in management at MIT. So we moved to Boston, and only then I started to realize that if you want to learn quickly, you need to be where the pace of innovation is faster, and you need to work in startups and in small companies. At least that's my opinion now. And I found myself at my first job doing product management in a small startup in Boston, or smaller, 200 people startup. And yeah, things that would take a month, working for database in a bank like Chase, took a day at that place. I mean, with more bugs, not necessarily to the same level of reliability, right? But
Sure.
I mean, you get to learn more, right? If you iterate more.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's early on. I worked in product for a decade until about COVID, where I was, I think I got to a place where I was already unemployable in companies. Like, I didn't want to work for anybody. I wanted to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't,
Unemployable because of that.
yeah, I couldn't even when I said, let's give it a try, I couldn't bring myself to, to summon the energy.
Yeah.
My thoughts were elsewhere. And so I started working on my own thing.
What was
around
the first
COVID.
was Sloyd the first thing, or were there iterations prior to?
So I started with something else, and so it was also around AI. I did like very early experiments with AI, taking open source and doing training it on data that others haven't. And I was actually trying to do something in illustration and sketches. I worked a lot with designers and managed a design group just before that, and I just like turn sketches into flat vector art for designers. And I looked for partners for quite a while I was learning a lot about AI and experimenting. And eventually I met, I didn't find the right partners. It took a while. Eventually I joined an accelerator called Antler in Norway.
Hmm.
And there I found my, at the time, two co-founders, and we kind of took that AI approach that I was working on and 3D work that the other founder was the first CTO at Sloyd had been working on, and combined them to do AI automation for 3D.
Got it. So was Atler, was that specific to the idea was to find your co-founder or co-founders
Yeah,
and
so
partners with it?
Antler is like really good in that, like it's open for first-time entrepreneurs. Of course, you have to be accepted, but like it's open to that, and you don't have to come with a team. A lot of accelerators expect you to come with a team, right? And most VCs will turn you off if you're just coming by yourself, and probably for a good reason, right? As a first-time entrepreneur by yourself, like it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
And so there, yeah, like the idea is that you come and you pair with others and create the company doing the accelerator process, and then they also fund some of the companies that come out of Antler, and that's how we got our first funding.
What's the accelerator process like?
It's a 3 months program where you work with peers that are with you in the program on different projects, usually industry challenges. And the idea is to rotate a lot with partners so you could see, get to know them, see if you have the right chemistry together, and then form teams organically. And then you kind of move from exploration phase of finding teams to ideation, and then work on an idea and compete for funding within the program. You go and pitch your ideas to the investment team in a few rounds, and eventually they at the end of the program they make a decision if they invest in you or in your company
Yeah,
or not. So it's a really interesting process. I had to
absolutely.
do it from afar because like everything closed just as there was a shutdown in first, I think, in Israel and later in Norway, and I didn't have the opportunity to go over, so I did it from afar. Actually, we got the
You weren't
first.
in Norway? You were
I was
remote?
not. I was remote. I wasn't able. Like the shutdown started a week or less before I planned to travel,
Uh-huh.
and we actually worked together for 6 months and received funding without ever meeting. And the company is a remote first company
Yeah.
ever since. There's still people in the company who haven't met other people. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Mhm.
A lot of the listeners on for Peaking are in that entrepreneur space. Some of them are sitting on the sidelines with great ideas and thinking about moving forward. Is there any advice you would give to someone having gone through that experience? Pros, cons, anything at all?
Yeah. So I've tried other, like I've always been the idea person, and I wanted for a while to start something. I dabbled with it, but it was really COVID that let me, go for it all the way, because of the situation of, um, yeah, like being at home at that time. And I think, I mean, it goes to the first thing you need. You probably, when you start, you have to prepare yourself potentially for 10 months without income,
Right.
maybe more, right? Um, and so that's the first question you have to. I mean, I do think it's the difference between, in a lot of cases, between successful to unsuccessful early entrepreneurs, right? People talk about, I don't think like the entrepreneurs are special or different or, cut from a different material. You need to be persistent and be persistent for a while. And the ability to sustain without a salary is a good, is kind of like maybe one of the strongest correlations to success in early entrepreneurship. And so that's a question you have to ask yourself: can you do it? Like I had, after working for many years, and I think my wife and I and the family were in a situation where it was possible to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's one thing. Then I think you really need to want it. Like
Yeah.
for me, like I it really felt like the only direction I'm interested at that point. Um, but then also don't like have set like deadlines for yourself.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like you need to make progress. Like for me, after a few months of not finding partners, I said like, okay, if I by this and that date, if I don't find the right technical co-founder, I'll go to an accelerator, right? I'll fly. There wasn't anything like that I wanted in Israel, right? Something that would take me as a sole entrepreneur and fund. So I said, fine, I'll fly somewhere and spend 3 months over there and do it. So, but likewise within like starting a company, we like, you need to really see that you are making real progress and not, staggering, I guess. And
Yeah.
even though it takes persistence, it also takes this kind of honesty to understand that you're making real progress.
Yeah. So for your leap to entrepreneurship, was it, uh, being fed up with working for someone else, corporate America? Was it, the specific idea you had? What ultimately was the tipping point for you that made you want to say, "Hey, I'm gonna go do this now. This is the
Yeah,
time."
I've always been opinionated. I always like to do things my own way, and I do have ideas a lot, and I like doing, and I do have ambitions. I never felt like, or for a long while, I didn't feel like I, um, necessarily have, something especially good to be able to say I know how to do it and to run and do it. I do believe in hard work, but after many years of being product, and it's a lot, thinking a lot about strategy, a lot about execution, and repeatedly being in more senior positions and smaller companies. I moved from bigger companies to smaller and smaller companies, but in more senior position. I felt like I accumulated enough knowledge, and to the point where I looked up and I said like, at my managers and said, I know, like, I know, let's go on my own way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's when I felt ready, and the circumstances around the COVID, yeah, it all led up to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. So tell us about Sloyd. Give us the high level pitch, maybe the elevator, and then let's talk a little bit more in depth about it. You mentioned a little bit of it, but yeah, would love to jump into that.
Yeah. So making 3D is actually really hard. It's you need to study for years to be really good at 3D, and then there's like many like side professions. There are people who specialize in creating, like if you look at big game studios, there are people who specialize in creating environment work, like just creating 3D of rocks and trees.
Hmm.
Others that just make characters. others that make garments and fabrics for characters.
Hmm.
And so it's a hard profession. It's like learning to code. And then it's very time consuming. A model could take hours or even days, depending on complexity. And so, at the one hand, for professionals and studios, creating 3D for a game takes a lot of time.
Hmm.
In some AAA games, this could be 200 or 300 million dollars, right? A third of the budget could be on the art, and it's huge budgets. And at the other hand, they're like everybody. There are more and more creators. People who are developing for Roblox, right? For example, and they just don't have the know-how of creating 3D. And now, with what we provide, with the technology available in AI can actually take images and construct a 3D model out of those images. And it's a process that takes a minute or 2 minutes, depending on quality
Hmm.
and on GPUs. And there you have it. You have a model in 2 minutes. And it's a pretty good model. It depends on to what aim and what standard, but
Sure.
it's pretty awesome. And then it serves both edges. It serves all those Roblox creators and indie developers. There are more than 1 million indie developers out there in the world. There are 10 million people who create in Roblox.
Hmm.
Right? So not just play, but actually create assets or create games and create mods. So all of those could do a lot more now than they could before the age of AI. And the studios, which are right now struggling because this is a very tough business and the margins are being eroded, have an avenue for cutting costs and shipping games faster.
Yeah. Do you see this as the future of game development?
Yeah, I mean, so increasingly more and more things will be done with AI, from early prototyping on to creating assets to creating how characters that or NPC characters that are controlled by AI to testing. Every aspect of game development is now changing, and it's changing the whole industry. It changes the way teams work together, and it would also probably change the how games look.
So
Definitely a big shift.
you mentioned some of the main users. Do you see studios using this tool as well as solo developers? Who are all of your users and who composes the most of it?
Mhm. What we see, so a lot of the users are kind of like um, long tail users, and that's we focus in personal creators and in studios up to 50 people.
Mhm.
And what you typically see is that on the more professional side, the usage starts with prototyping, creating, like doing concept art. That then turns, it starts with concept art, usually starts with drawing, but now they can take the concept art and turn it into 3D as an early concept art. Um, Basis for marketing videos. And so it's really, in a way, it's a communication tool that speeds up development. There's something called gray boxing in games. It's where you create a new level and you want to showcase the gameplay, right? So the art is not final, but it gets you get an early experience. So everybody in the huge team or medium-sized team aligns together on kind of like the same thing, and you get to experiment with the different types of gameplay. So they call it gray boxing because instead of houses, you just put gray boxes around, and you have the
Yeah.
character jumping between boxes. Well, now you could do the same type of rapid prototyping, but you could like make the visualization a lot better. right?
Mhm.
And it's only much later that it comes into assets into what's called production, meaning 3D models that came out of AI and not from a professional artist and made it their way into games. That's less common, and when it does happen, they usually have an intermediate step of working on the model using the AI as a starting point, and then doing some work on it, and then putting it into the game. And with the hobby developer, smaller teams, you get to see, and also the specific art styles that are more simplistic, like Roblox and others. You get to see assets created with Sloyd being used in the game.
Got it. So Sloyd is developing assets that are going into production. Just depends on the I guess would it be console or the platform that's being used for the game?
It could be anything, console games, web games, mobile games, platform games like Roblox VR, uh, simulations, right? Simulations are games, right? When it's used for some kind of like a tutorial or work simulation that's used to train or educate, and they use a 3D environment to simulate it. So those are all games, and those are all use cases. And yeah, we have thousands of users from across all of those, different
Yeah.
gaming industries and outlets. Yeah,
How many total users do you have right now?
we have thousands of like active paying, what we call subscribers, but then we have a lot more who come and generate something to get a feeling or maybe take one model.
Hmm.
That's within the lifetime of Sloyd, that's probably nearing 500,000 users.
That's awesome. Congrats. It's really exciting times for you. So how large of a company, how many people do you have currently working at Sloyd?
So we're a really small company. We're about 8 people, maybe 10. Like it's also depends how you count, like with like part-time and flexible employment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and we find that like we want to grow a bit, but like I do art for marketing, videos, everything, research, everything is a lot faster right now. Automation for everything around operations. And so same with the developers. We used to have at the beginning, because we don't have a lot of funds. We've raised just over $3 million so far.
Hmm.
And at the beginning and in different phases. And in the beginning we mostly relied on uh, younger developers. Uh, it's more cost effective, and we've had interns and we've had pretty big teams, and now we kind of replaced it with like 3 very senior AI, geometry algorithm, and general developers, each really good at what they do. And one of them is the yeah and they probably use AI a lot as well in their workflow and coding, and we are definitely much faster.
Yeah.
It also has to do probably with the being a remote first company. We found that it's harder to get juniors. It's possible, but it's hard to get juniors on board in a remote
Sure.
forced environment. And with seniors, it usually, they some of them actually appreciate it,
Yeah.
and but it's not a barrier.
Yeah. Makes sense. So when you started, do you have one co-founder or do you have multiple co-founders?
We started 3, and we're now 2 active co-founders.
Awesome. And so what skill? So you're on the product side. You had the idea originally. What do they bring to the table?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I had an idea. I'd say I brought something to the idea. The other co-founder, Andreas, who's now the CEO, comes from a background of management consulting, and is a creator, kind of like in in spirit. And the third co-founder, Oyvind, who was the first CTO, he is an algorithms graphic programming person, right? Like
Sure.
developer, and he. So a lot of what we did at the beginning was based on his work on graphic programming, on doing what we call parameterized graphics. So it's graphics where instead of storing the mesh. Mesh is like it's the triangles that go on the surface of an object. We store geometric formulas, and it's a very condensed form, and it's really also aligned well with AI. And so we started with our own type of AI for 3D that was very different than the industry. We part of the shifts that we have done is that we also kind of adopted the mainstream of doing 3D AI using North, later Gaussian splatting. It goes into like technical details, but like basically combining that with the technology that we started with, and I think that allowed us to at the point where we did it, it allowed us to grow well in 25.
Yeah. What would you say is one of the greatest challenges you have faced so far at Sloyd?
I mean, we've been through a lot. Like it took us time to find early funding, like after the initial investment, which wasn't a lot, 100,000 K, like that's where we started. It took us like a year after that founding, we actually got to lots of users, and we were like a lot of users, but not very persistent or returning users. And so we realized that like what we're doing interests a lot of people, and we're like we definitely hit on the chord. But what we like the like so we're like catering to a big need and to a promise, but we're not delivering on that well enough.
Okay.
And we shifted from kind of like delivery on the web to delivery to work on a different type of delivery and offering through API and an SDK. It means like that we integrate into games instead of like being a tool that you use on a browser to be part of the game code. We spent a year, we spent the whole of 24 making that work, and it hadn't.
Mm-hmm.
It hadn't worked. And then from the end of 25, we went back to web, to where we were in 23.
Mm-hmm.
We shifted technologies, or we blended technologies. Only now we launched our V2 web program, like the second version in March.
Mm-hmm.
Really, from March to now, we started seeing revenue users who actually want to use the product over and over and are paying
Yeah.
for it. And it took 4 years to get there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a long time.
Did you start with a freemium model? Did you have a paying subscription? Has your cost model evolved over time? What did that look like?
Yeah, we ran for a year. First, we didn't have a product. Then we ran for a year without any. It was everything free.
Yep.
We just wanted, to get usage. Then we added monetization, the ability to subscribe. Most of it was freemium. Most of it was for free. Some of it was for paid. Web-based subscription, SaaS model. And so that was late 23 into early 24. Not making a lot of money on that. Not a lot of people subscribed, but our focus shifted into working with game companies, integrating into game, right, through an SDK and an API. So that was on the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
Kept going, right? We didn't cut it. Like we were pressed to choose one or the other, but
Yeah.
We wanted to keep it going while we, explore this other avenue. We did make some revenue on in 24 in API and SDK work, but not where we uh, uh, wanted to be in terms of goals, and we concluded that there is no product market fit in that. And then we shifted back, right, again to the web and again to SaaS. And now we're SaaS. We're also freemium, but like mostly a lot more walled into subscription than we
Right.
were. And the quality is there right now in a way that lots of users are finding value and depend on Sloyd in what they're creating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any advice you would give to people who are in that early stages of development, but they're thinking about that go to market and cost model, takeaways, things that you may have done differently or would have done?
I think we could have, in retrospect, experimented faster. While you don't have it, you don't have it. And we just started with after taking some time to fundraise and go out to the market with a product, it just exploded with free users really well, and we hit a chord there. But
Yeah.
then in doing that crossing from usage to paying user, we struggled a lot. Took more than a year of experimenting. Yeah, in retrospect, experimenting faster while you don't have it, right, to run tighter experiments
Yeah.
and to let go. Let go is something that's was hard for us to learn. But we have so much great technology. We
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to, but and then we actually closed our API. We It was making money in the time that we closed it. We closed it. Um, and we shut down the SDK, and this was this year, and it was kind of hard because there's potential in it, but once we did it and we narrowed our focus more and more, we were able to accelerate development a lot faster. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are things I would advise. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I'm sure, extremely tough to do. Absolutely. What excites you most about kind of the future of 3D and what you're doing, how it can be applied to various forms? What excites you most?
I think the 3D is like the ultimate space for creation. And so right now we're creating 3D models, but where we want to go is to be a place where you create with 3D, right? Not
Hmm.
necessarily create 3D. And the output it could be a video game, it could be one model for a game, but how about a full scene, right?
Right.
Create your whole scene. How about a video or an animation? And so right now you have a lot of video models that usually start from text
Hmm.
or from text and an image, but
Right.
really I think what you want is a real 3D scene as a base, a scene that's fixed, consistent, and permanent. So you could do when you do like a sitcom or anything with an episode, you have the set, right?
Yep.
In Friends, you had uh, that coffee shop, right? And you had Monica's house. It's there, right? You want a
Hmm.
set, so you create a set with 3D, and then you use AI to create videos on top of that. And so I'm thinking of 3D. We're thinking of 3D as something much broader than just game development, which in itself is pretty big. It's a basic component for expression in our world, which is going to be an immersive world.
Hmm.
And also in gaming in itself, it used to be that before YouTube and before the mobile phone, there were consumers of video, and there were like producers and broadcasters, which were TV networks and Hollywood studios. But now everybody just uses a phone, create videos, and then it's like the way everybody expresses themselves, and then take it to whatever platform. It used to be YouTube. Now there are many outlets. So the same would happen with gaming and gaming experiences, and you see the beginning of that in Roblox. And I think, yeah, it's gonna be very different
Yeah.
later on.
Well, anything exciting coming up with Sloyd? Any upcoming launches? It sounds like you went through a recent V2, but yeah, anything exciting to share?
Like
Or?
the pace is like really fast. Have something new. Like there's something new every week, but something like a new capability probably every other week. It's just like there's always a new research paper out. There's always a new code base out, and we're out experimenting, exploring, creating research, and the quality keeps getting better of the topology, of the textures, the abilities that we have. Like we want to add animation soon with AI for characters. Yeah, we want to add the ability to retexture existing models, so you can upload your own models that you already have, maybe from a previous game, and improve them or change them, and a lot more than that as well. So yeah, like uh, there's
Very
no
cool.
like one big thing. There's gonna be
Yeah.
many.
It's exciting though. It's exciting. Are you using any tools in your space that outside of Sloyd that excites you, that you love, that you recommend?
Agents, definitely started using agents more and more, and we're using I'm using a lot on GPT and then Gemini. In the company we've used Relay and other software, and I find that like instead of asking a question or helping with one task, like I could do a long task, a task that a mission that has multiple tasks, and it's definitely a multiplier in productivity. And then we're really looking into AI for coding. We already use AI for coding, but we're looking into instead of designing, in one tool like Figma, and then giving it out to developers we're experimenting with connecting AI to our code base, to GitHub, creating a live kind of a live design environment where I, as a designer, could make changes and hand out a live prototype to a developer. So
Hmm.
that's I think very interesting to see how well that would work.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, anything last that you want to leave with the listeners about Sloyd, yourself, the journey?
I don't know if you're like interested in 3D or thought about learning something about game development or something like that. So it's a good time to do it. It's a lot easier in 25 than it was even a year ago. So check out Sloyd, check out other tools for the development side of it. And have fun. Like it's a great time to be a creator of any kind now.
Very cool. Very cool. What's the easiest way to find Sloyd?
Uh, it's I can spell it. Are you gonna put a link on the?
Absolutely. I'll add a
Yeah,
link. I'll do all
it's
that for sure.
Sloyd AI. It's like it's a strange name. I don't know. It's like spelled Sloyd.ai, right? Sloyd.
Cool. And
So
and
it has
Avi,
like
where can
a
people find you?
Scandinavian origin. The name. It's actually craftsmanship, education through carpentry, right? So
I love that. Sorry, and I cut you off. What is the origin from?
in Norway and in Sweden, they have this concept of Sloyd, which is being it's like wood carpentry, but mostly for education with kids.
Yep.
And actually, like the real story is I lived in Norway at the time that we decided on the name, and I think I lived in Norway. I lived in Norway for a year. Maybe it was a different time, but I was looking for a name, and I started like I wanted something with craft. And so, I gathered a list of options and ideas and names that had to do with all kinds of crafts.
Yep.
And one of them was Sloyd. And when the Norwegian co-founders saw that, they said, "That's it." Like it was in the shortlist. That's what we need to be. We
Yeah.
are like the digital carpenters, and so we became Sloyd. Yeah.
I love it. I think that's great. Very
Mhm.
cool. Very cool. Well, Avi, pleasure having this conversation with you. I think it's very raw, it's very real, and I think will resonate with a lot of people in the peaking community. So thanks again for coming on.
Thank you, Brian. I had fun.
Okay. All right. Take care.
See you. Bye bye.